Welcome to Cryptid Zoo, the show where three lifelong friends talk about cryptids, monsters, and urban legends of human mythology. My name is Nick. You will get to know me very well, as you will my co-hosts Brendan and JC. All of our internet names will be promoted at the end if you want to find us on other platforms, but I'm promoting when I should be disclaiming. Now, before the episode begins, I want to give a quick disclaimer that there are a few technical issues that kind of arose while making this, and while I tried to work with them the best I can and minimize them, they're still semi-apparent here and there, but not enough to distract from the episode. And lastly, we have an opening theme for this, but it's not ready yet. So you're gonna have to wait around for episode 2 for that. So we're just gonna have a cold open and a cold ending, and I apologize for that. Anyways, I've held you long enough. Please enjoy the show. This is off to a terrible start. We basically just started a hike and fell off a 20-foot cliff.
Yeah, I told you it was inevitable that somebody comes and yells at my door, and guess what? It happened.
Brendan, we're just waiting for your dog to just start barking.
You
Oh,
said
I'm sure
release
it'll
the
happen.
beast.
Speaking of unleashing the beast, fellas, today is episode 1 of I'm listen, the name's up in the air. By the time this episode airs, I'll probably have a definitive name for it, but today is episode 1, and today we are going to be covering a very, very infamous cryptid. You guys ready?
How infamous? Oh my god, Michigander accent. How infamous?
Very. If I had to say on a scale of 1 to 10, probably one of the most popular ones in North America. We are starting with the illustrious Mothman, a good opener for September, you know, start of spooky season. And I figured a popular one, but a well-known one would be a good starting point for this.
I hate moths. Like genuinely, like actual real life moths. I hate them.
Yeah.
They're just ugly butterflies, man. They creep me out. I don't like them.
They're disgusting.
They kind of are.
And the crazy part is they don't even know if Mothman's a moth, but we'll tackle that later. So for anyone new to this, which you probably are because it's episode 1, there are going to be a few different things that we do inside the podcast. I am going to come to this every single episode with 2 stories, and then we're going to delve into some categories, some more specifics, and then I have a few categories for like my co-hosts here to delve into their own speculations and opinions and so on and so forth, so that everyone has a stake in this. So I guess before I get into the stories, I'm jumping all over the place. I feel like a description is important, which also I just want to say, surprisingly harder than you would think to find stories for Mothman. Really not a popular cryptid, or he's popular, but all the stories are just hearsay.
A lot of them are chalked up to either mass hysteria or a witness account that isn't backed by an actual documented witness.
Yeah, anytime you look up a Mothman story, it's like there's 100 stories, and then they just don't give you one. Because most of the time it's just, oh, I saw a thing, and then they leave it be. So I did my research, okay? First of all, what is Mothman? Well, according to legend, Mothman is across all accounts, a black 10-foot tall creature specifically with wings and red eyes. Now, it's never explicitly said that it is a moth. It's always just been described as a dark figure that stands taller than an average person and has these wide spread out wings. So the reason it is called a moth is because of its bright red eyes that are a very common trait amongst various different stories. Whether or not it's a moth, we'll get into that. How about I start us with a little tale to regale. Glendon, West Virginia, 1966. Working the graveyard shift at a local cemetery, 2 gravediggers describe what they saw as, quote, a large bird with red eyes soar directly over their heads. Unbeknownst to the 2 men, this would later come to be known as the first official sighting of the legendary Mothman. Between November 1966 and December 1967, Point Pleasant, West Virginia was the subject of at least 100 reports from people of all demographics depicting a large winged beast prowling the local town. However, the most infamous of these sightings would be on December 15th, 1967. Locals report seeing a moth-like creature circling the upper portion of the Silver Bridge, which was a suspension bridge over the Ohio River that connected Point Pleasant, West Virginia to Gallipolis, Ohio.
So wait, you said the first sighting was in West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And then this second one was in Ohio?
No, its most famous sighting was atop the Silver Bridge that connected the Point Pleasant, West Virginia to Ohio.
Which coined the rumor that Mothman is actually the angel of death.
Yes, I'm about to get to that.
Really?
According to sightings, shortly after the creature was spotted, the bridge collapsed, resulting in the deaths of 46 people. An investigation into the disaster found a fracture in the suspension chain was the cause, but no foul play was ever confirmed.
Man killed a lot of people on that bridge, or he was there to warn them.
Yeah, that's a common theory when it comes down to Mothman. People don't know actually whether or not it is a malicious monster or if it's just an omen.
Mm-hmm.
So did anything happen after that site in Ohio, like recently? Not recently, but like near that sighting to maybe prove that it is a type of foreshadowing?
So funny enough, there actually are multiple different accounts of Mothman being allegedly spotted in various different like natural disasters such as earthquakes, tsunamis, and even some big ones. Like a common thread is that Mothman was directly responsible for Chernobyl, which, okay,
It's a little bit of a reach.
it is a very big reach. That is the other side of the world.
I mean, if it's the angel of death that we're talking about, maybe not as much of a reach. But if we're talking about the cryptid Mothman, then that's a massive reach because no creature would fly that far.
So, you guys ready for story 2?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So this second story is a bit more of a specific one that sort of gives a bit more context as to what Mothman may be, or maybe even help with the omen of death idea. So strap in.
Sick.
In 1978, a group of miners in Freiburg, Germany, came face to face with an object blocking the entrance to the mine. The figure appeared to be a tall, dark, headless apparition with glowing eyes on its chest. Initially, the men believed it to be a man wearing a trench coat, only to realize the enormous black wings that had spread out at its side. The miners remained halted at the entrance, dumbfounded and staring at the creature, until suddenly it let out a spine-tingling screech that caused them to run away from the mine. The men witnessed a seismic rumble and a dust plume shoot from the mine as it collapsed an hour later. Most of the men would have perished if they had arrived at the station on time. They believe the Freiburg Shrieker may have saved their lives. People sort of like to take this Freiburg Shrieker and Mothman and make it a one-to-one comparison. And so it sort of gives a little bit more credence to the idea that it's an omen of death. And so a lot of people actually, like, in a way, sort of revere Mothman as if it's like some sort of like deity in a way, which is, I'll be honest, a bit weird, but you know, who's to judge?
I mean, yeah, sure. A little bit of a weird reach to see it as a deity or anything past a cryptid. Even if it is just like an omen of death, I don't think it would be any kind of D&D. More or less, maybe a visage at most.
You know, there's a lot of skepticism when it comes to that, but so we'll get into some additional details to sort of contextualize the Mothman legend. I already told you about Mothman being involved in various different natural and human-made disasters, or at the very least being on site for that. But did you know Mothman actually does have a form of an origin? Or at the very least a home, which is not very common amongst cryptids. It's not like, oh, the ghost of Saint Maria likes, I don't know, to chill in a treehouse on Sundays, whatever.
So is it like a origin as in like a building, or an origin area like, oh, in yada yada city?
Funny you say that. Mothman has been rumored to take refuge in Ordnance Works, better known as the TNT area. This nickname's going to make a bit more sense because Ordnance Works is actually a World War II ammo supply depot that was later defunct after the war and became more of a landfill for various different chemicals and weapons, so to say. It is speculated that this is the birthplace of Mothman due to the high form of radiation poisoning that would have occurred around the time of 1967 and 1966. It has been polluted by chemical dumping and is still undergoing cleanup, but a full recovery is yet to occur as of 2007. Now it's 2023 right now, so it's very possible that they've probably cleaned it up, but I haven't been there, so I don't know. I will say that radiation is no longer prevalent in the area. If there is any form of radiation, it's extremely minor because people are free to go there. Like, you can just enter into the TNT area and just walk around. Off the top of my head, it might be off limits. You might get trespassed, but I don't remember. So, editor Nick here to fill in the gaps. So apparently Point Pleasant is actually offering bus tours of the TNT area. So I'm still relatively unsure whether or not you can just walk around, but you're definitely able to enter the area. So radiation probably gone, but I'll give it back to the fellas back in the recording studio. But to the best of my knowledge, people go there all the time looking for Mothman, and no official like hunts or sightings have really been marked, which, you know, again, we'll get into that in a little bit. Also, it's worth mentioning, every year the citizens of Point Pleasant, West Virginia host an annual Mothman festival in spirit of the legend. The festival is held every third weekend of September. The festival hosts vendors, bus tours, guest speakers, and even an official Mothman museum.
Oh, snap. Is the third weekend the end of this
that's
week?
really cool.
It is.
So this episode's going to be released during the festival.
Yeah, it's actually going to be released the week before the festival. And if this podcast drops, you know, when I hope to, it will have been like a day, or it'll be the week before. So with that being said, that is all the additional details that we have currently about Mothman. Now we're going to delve into some active theories. These are theories that the public have coined to sort of explain what Mothman is or his appearances. And so I did a bit of digging for all of these. So, you know, after each one, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Okay.
All right. Got you.
The first theory is that it is a mutant born from chemical experiments and pesticides of World War II, which would explain why no active sightings have occurred since 1967. As such, if it is a natural creature created via chemicals, it's probably got a lot of medical issues. It's not going to be around for very long, especially if it was just overgrown and just oozing with pus. Sorry to give you that thought, but it does make sense. Now, scientifically, not at all. But
No, that's very TMNT-esque.
You know, I find it really interesting that people believe that he was created from radiation and just people and chemicals, but just leaving stuff there for a while. Like, you said it was a military base, it became a landfill, right?
yeah, pretty much. Like, they started, like, it wasn't specifically just they were dumping like apple cores and banana peels. It was, they were using it as like a chemical dumping site.
This is Amazon's backyard, bro.
No, they were like dumping like various different chemicals, untested chemicals too.
Dang, bro. Mothman really need that Dawn dish soap commercial wash.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen those. The duck like stuck in oil.
Could you imagine? Like, they just find this big fucking moth and they just start lathering it up like with Dawn dish soap. Like, bites the head off of the guy. Just. I'm not gonna lie, it'd be brutal, but then I'd start buying more Dawn. All right. Next one. The next theory is that Mothman is actually an alien descent from beyond the stars and existing with a heightened level of intelligence, which would explain its ability to predict disasters.
Kind of like predicting a pattern of the universe almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, because Mothman didn't stick around after that. He didn't like land and laugh at them. He was like, ooh, and they left.
It's hard to say. I wouldn't say that he's an alien because my mind logically goes to, if something like that does exist for whatever reason, an alien's not going to sit around our civilizations observing in a extremely close proximity.
What if it was like an animalistic alien?
Like a creature from another planet got laid on Earth?
Yeah, like imagine if a deer landed on Mars and it could breathe.
That is okay. That is way too far-fetched, I feel like.
You think it's far-fetched?
I think that one is way too far-fetched. Granted, I don't feel like the radiation is also one that is less far-fetched, because the instances that and the conditions that would need to be met for those chemicals, to whatever the conditions need to be to mutate a certain moth into a Mothman, like, why didn't that happen with other moths?
As far as we're concerned with science and biological testing and so on and so forth, very unlikely it is that. But, you know, we're sort of hopping around. We got one more common theory. The last one is that it is a ghost / angel / extra-dimensional being, hailing from a higher plane of existence with a nigh omnipresent form of existence, explaining its ability to exist then disappear within seconds, which would also sort of explain its ability to be in Point Pleasant, West Virginia on Tuesday, and then, I don't know, Russia, Chernobyl, I don't know where Chernobyl is, on Wednesday.
I think the only thing that I really have to say is that, like, I've heard this theory before, and I've heard a very extremely similar, like, outgoing branch. It might have been BuzzFeed Unsolved or something like that brought this up, but they brought up a Mothman being perhaps a particular spawn of what would have been a Native American tribal grounds, and to guard the grounds of what was native,
territory.
What was native territory or tribal territory. They summoned basically like a guard dog, and that guard dog was almost like an aggressive spirit. So it never killed, but it chased off, which would line up with a lot of the stories of Mothman, that he kind of chases people off, or he's just there and people get scared and they run off. Oh, you guys got to see this, and then they go back. He's gone.
Yeah,
I think that one is. I feel like that one might be the most far fetched of them all. To be honest with you.
What about it?
I don't know. I mean, granted, scientists have picked up the existence of alternate dimensions via vibrational frequencies.
Is that official?
So, I believe so. Yeah, I read an article on it like a couple months ago. I could see if I could find it and send it to you.
Yeah, no, we do know that extra dimensions do exist. We just don't know if anything else exists in them. They might just be parts of our world that exist that we don't know about.
Yeah.
That's like saying, oh, atoms exist. Like, sure, they exist, and we are made of atoms, but we can't see them.
Even though you can't see it with the microscope, it's like, we know that there's a fifth dimension, but it's like, it's not so much as in it's another plane of existence. It's more just, it's something that we're not part of.
Well, I mean, who's to say it's not a different plane of existence? Because we're in, what, the fourth dimension right now? Well, who's to say the fourth dimension isn't a dimensional plane?
Yeah, because we see certain dimensions. We are three-dimensional characters, but we do not see in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, it's like that's a good idea, but it's like we're talking about what's specifically confirmed.
Yeah,
which, you know, we don't want to talk about science on my monster podcast. Get out of here. But why do you think it's far-fetched?
Because it's just because we're bringing in a whole other plane of existence into this. And I don't know, granted, a lot of people like to believe that this character is some sort of harbinger of doom. Like, he foreshadows bad events and shit like that.
I personally am a bigger fan of the ghost / angel / interdimensional being theory, because I think it just makes more sense rather than it running an algorithm to be like, yes, but at the same time, it would also explain the disappearance after 1967. But it's not something I'm willing to stake my money on. I'm just throwing out the theories as they come. Those are the 3 we got. We've got 3 categories. So how the podcast is going to work is after every single debriefing, we are going to have 3 categories roughly, where we sort of delve into our own personal opinions, our own thoughts, and just sort of like work with what we've been given. So the first category we are going to delve into is speculation. So what do you guys think? What do you think about the theories we have been presented?
I don't think he's necessarily good nor evil because, like, I mean,
you think he just happens to be around
someone? Oh yeah, because I mean, someone who reports the news non-biasedly, I mean, they're not a good or a bad guy, right? They just kind of tell you what happened. So I kind of feel like this guy is kind of just like everyone's saying, like a warning sign. I don't necessarily don't think he's good. I think he's bad. I just think he is a neutral character who is used to foreshadow events.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was mutated. I don't think he is a spirit or anything like that. I feel like the alien one kind of makes sense too, because, like, I mean, that both the spirit and the alien can also be tied to his speed, because he have access to technology that we don't even know about, dude.
He's got like a jetpack.
Like, what if, dude? I mean, hell, like, what if his wings aren't even wings? They're just literally just.
What if he's just a dork from Mars or something like that? He's just some dorky guy that left his planet, and he's like, dude, I'm the shit here.
He's like in his astronaut suit still, so we think it's like a creature.
Yeah. He's like, I'm great. And then like before he gets a chance to do anything, the government just hauls him off and is like, all right. They just throw him in a crater because that's what the government does. When they don't like people, they put them in craters and then bury them. There was a lot of silence on that.
Yeah.
Like, where's the applause? Like, where's the laughter?
Alien abuse? I'm not applauding for that. Never catch me lacking. I believe in alien pride.
What about you, JC? What do you think?
So there's only two plausible things. One, if he is a spirit ghost, this explains the quick travel, whatnot. Man's got Skyrim fast travel. Him being kind of an omen of death, I am very, very happy to agree with. It makes a lot of sense. But then on the opposite side of the spectrum, I'd like to also think, what if he is a chemical abomination? Or for whatever reason, he's an alien that feeds off of chemicals, not specifically radiation or any of that, but chemicals. It would make sense for Chernobyl. He went there, found that there was chemicals, radiation happened. He fed off that radiation. He was born in radiation, or maybe was feeding off of that, and that's when they first came across him. He lives off of the chemicals and the radiation. It would also, if we were leading into that alien or chemical abomination kind of origin story, it would make a lot of sense for certain things. I think the bridge could have just been a coincidence that he got spotted. He might have been nibbling on the wire a little, like, wow, this is really tasty. And then he just killed 49 people. Like, oopsie daisy. Ooh, oopsie daisy. And then he took off flying and they were like, yo, what the hell?
If I had to lean towards one way or another, I'd probably lean more towards Ghost/Angel, because, as much as I love the idea of him being a mutant, I think science just ain't there. And it's very unlikely. Very unlikely he's a mutant. If he is anything, he's probably a ghost. He's probably not an alien, because aliens like to stick around, or they left. I don't know. But I'm a fan of that, of the extra dimensional being theory. So anyways, moving on. Do we like him?
I say yeah, I like Mothman. So whether he killed those 46 people or not, whether he's an X-Men or a spirit or a tribal grounds warrior, I like him. I think he's cool. It's a cool little legend. It's a neat little niche thing, and I'm happy to kind of have it in this world that I live in. So I think it's a little neat. But if he is killing people, not cool, bro. But Mothman as a concept, dope.
No, I like Mothman. I like Moth. I think he's very chill. I think I'm gonna stand by that.
I don't like him.
You don't like him?
No, and that's just because I do not like moths. And the fact that there is a Mothman out there.
Yeah, a 10-foot tall one.
Yeah, it kind of creeps me out, bro.
Yeah.
I might be gaslighting myself, but I'm pretty sure there was a story of like Mothman trying to steal a baby, wasn't there?
No, there was.
There was, and some lady fought Mothman.
I completely forgot about that one. Bonus story, fellas.
Yeah.
First episode, you get a bonus story, but it's like less research, so.
That's my giddy little laugh.
I'm gonna make that a sound bite. Make that a sound bite. Give me, editor, get on that. 3 of them right now.
Wait, isn't the editor you?
Yeah.
So aren't you referring to yourself in the third person?
Yeah, man. I'm always gonna say editor, and it's just gonna be me. It's never gonna not be me. unless I outsource the work, but I don't think I don't see myself doing that at all.
Yeah, let's get to the story. We're still making jokes with no context to this story.
I mean, to be fair, we got a story with no context, so
I can say from what I remember, and if you want to add on.
Go on.
All right, 6. So this lady lived, I'm pretty sure it was West Virginia or something like that.
Yeah, it was Point Pleasant. Had to be.
And she's chilling one night, and she's got her baby, and they're living in like this small 1-floor room. And she goes to put her child to bed, and she hears something land on her roof. And, it's like thud, thud, creepy monster noises. And he tears open the roof with his little moth mandibles, tears open the roof, and snatches that baby up. Now, before the baby and Mothman can get away, this mom said, I ain't letting this slide. and she begins molly-whopping Mothman, playing tug-of-war with this little baby's corpse.
Ripping its head off. Wait, corpse?
Yeah. Baby probably died from all that extreme pressure.
No, the baby didn't die.
No, the baby's alive. The baby's alive.
But it was tugging on the neck.
Yeah. So they're playing tug-of-war with little Timmy here. And it is just this intense, like, sweaty tug-of-war with this flying creature, and he just can't take off. This is too, for whatever reason, the mom was like too chunky and funky, or she was extremely buff. She might have been ripped, like Castle Crashers ripped. Do you know how crazy it is to rip open a roof and then not fly away with a baby? Long story short, though, the mom won the war.
That's crazy.
Or I guess the battle, not the war. Maybe Mothman took the child anyway. I don't know. I didn't really look into this further, but this like got on the news and everything. Like she stayed with her child the same night, and there was a hole in her roof, so there was proof that something, whatever it was, something did tear through the roof, which is crazy. So Mothman or not, whatever it was pretty insanely strong.
Yeah, that's a cool story. I think you're full of it, but onto our last category. Could
watch that baby in Dawn dish soap.
He shoulda.
Would have been too slippery for Mothman. Maybe Mothman lost because he was covered in Dawn dish soap. His little mandibles are too slippery.
No, he was covered in oil and he couldn't get it off. So they went to go film the commercial. They got it off.
And then he stole the baby.
Like appropriated the baby. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Mothman wouldn't steal.
Mothman baptized the baby. He's Catholic.
He did. Mothman is a devout Catholic within the cryptid community. So anyways, could it be real? Do you guys think Mothman is real? This is what we've been coming to. The whole 30 minutes we've been talking. Do you think, at the end of the day, Mothman is real?
I personally, it's hard to say completely if he could exist. I don't know how many years. We would have to do the math. I don't know if he should have been able to exist for as long as he could, unless he was feeding on baby children.
He actually only existed for a year.
You know, only a year.
Yeah,
maybe, and maybe unless, because like I said, unless he was feeding on like baby children or like animals or something like that. This thing is big. This thing is massive. We're talking a giant moth. And this thing has to feed. So we would notice a very heavy lack of vegetation in an area wherever it's nesting. If we're thinking, okay, omen of death, maybe. I'm more willing to believe that it would be an omen of death rather than a physical creature. So, do I think it's real? I'm going to have to say no. Do I think there's cryptids or something there? Most definitely. Nothing just tears through a roof or sits on the top of a bridge like Batman.
Brendan? With like how JC was saying, like some lady was attacking something, trying to take her baby.
Yeah.
And then something actually did break through the roof because there was a hole in there. You know, it is very...
I should note that this is alleged. We didn't fully research this story.
Okay, true. But if we were to go off that, I feel like, you know, there have been times people say like they're scared, you know, they see things or like they just don't necessarily register the situation fully because they're just scared. I feel like that one is pretty hard to not actually register, you know? I want to say at the end of the day that I believe there is a slight chance that Mothman could be real.
No kind of moth. 10 feet or not. I think bullets would rip right through a giant moth.
Probably.
So
all in all, you said that you think it's possible. Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. As for me, I'm gonna be honest and come out and say that when I was researching this, I did not think that he was real. If I'm being quite honest, I thought that it was very unlikely because it's like you hear the story and it's like it's a bit far-fetched. But looking into the further explanations like ghost and angel and so on and so forth, I think it kind of makes a little bit more sense, especially given the short time frame it was active. Because most of the time, anytime there's a fake story or whatever, they try and drag it out as long as they can. People don't know when to cut the story off. With Mothman, there is a start and there is an end point. we can like look at those and we can see all the accounts
Right.
within it. Do I think Point Pleasant is blowing it out of proportion for commerce? Yes, of course, but that's fine.
Definitely.
That's what they're supposed to do. It actually has improved their city. They used to have only like 4,000 people there, like maybe less. Now
you
it's
go
like
there,
really
you can get-
bustling.
Yeah, you can get Mothman coffee.
And you can
Mothman
get a
pizza,
t-shirt, which I
Mothman
want.
t-shirt.
Hey, I just want to put this on the record for the podcast. It's not likely, but it is entirely possible that the cast of, again, whatever I call this, we will go see the Mothman Festival and then report on it in a future episode. It's possible. It's not official.
Dude, it's pretty possible. I'm willing to go.
We'll see.
I will.
That would be sick, dude. Road trip.
West Virginia, dude. That's not a far drive.
Mountain
That's like,
Mama?
what, 6 hours? 6 hours? 7 hours?
Yeah, it's not much.
I like to think, I don't know why. I think it's just because we saw the TMNT movie pretty recently. But like you were like, yeah, it's like a chemical pussy creature, and I was like, scumbag. Yeah.
I did that noise way too well. How did I do that? Anyways, we're gonna cut this off before we go too far. That's gonna do it for this episode of after this episode, we're gonna have a concrete name, we're gonna have a concrete system. And please come back next time when we tackle whichever cryptid monster, whatever you want to call it, we cover next. Take care.